I'm mental Kevin. There's pretty much three sides to him. And one day he can be, hey, how you doing, your best buddy? And the next day he is very violent. He came over to my house this morning. I was in my house doing some work on the internet, and I seen him coming over, and I've always had issues with him. And I've had to call the police on him for trespassing many times. I went to my front door right as he was getting ready to knock on the door, and I think he was in this mental stage. I'm not an expert on any of this. And I had opened the door, and he knew I didn't want him there. And I said, Kevin, what are you doing? What do you need? And he proceeded to tell me that I had his daughter kidnapped in my house, and that I was in the middle of raping his daughter today. And I said, Kevin, I have no idea what you're talking about. You need to get off my property. And he said, where are you, sweetheart? And I'm coming into Dad's here, I'm going to protect you. And he barged into my house without permission and started to scream for his daughter in my house, saying, you're raping her, and I'm going to get my daughter. At that point in time, I went into my room and grabbed a pistol, and I've certainly contemplated shooting the man today. I'm not here to cause any trouble with anybody, but I'm letting you know now. He has been this way for years before I moved in, and I'm worried something's going to happen. It may be me, it may be one of the other neighbors. I'm extremely worried that something is he's gonna do this again to me or somebody else, and he's gonna come into that house, somebody's house, and they're gonna shoot him. I came this close today. I called the 911 operator and told these folks I have him at gunpoint. You need to get the police out here. And to show you his mental stage, after I pointed a gun at him and I told him to get out of my house, he walks outside onto my front porch and proceeds to tell me, oh, hey, don't worry about it. He says, do you have any screws for a deck screws? And I said, but that's his mental stage. He goes from literally accusing me of raping his daughter to don't worry about it. I'm looking for some deck screws.
Mr. Roca.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second.
Sure.
I'm sorry, because we're going way over the time limit. I'm assuming the police department is aware of the situation.
And we are aware of Kevin May, and we dealt with him today, and mental health people who are not dealing with him doesn't meet the crisis intervention criteria for us to take him into custody and transport him. And from what I gather from the officer, the part about him barging into the house is the first we've heard of that.
Okay.
I mentioned today at the time we dealt with the trespassing.
Mr. LaRocca can maybe stay on the porch.
Okay, and have you guys been inside the house?
Kevin's house, I am not.
Okay.
It's trashed.
I understand that, but, we're going to have
I understand.
situation here. Our police department needs to deal with it. You need to make sure that you're speaking with them, with the situation.
Absolutely.
But I do not want to...
He's also got a set of drums he put out on his front porch, and at 3 in the morning he's out there banging his drums.
Again, that is for the police department, and if there's not a fire pit and he's burning anything that is not natural wood products and it's not in a fire pit, that is also a call for the police department, fire department.
Okay. Let me, and I also want to address one other thing, and I think it may be towards, well, I don't know, I have a neighbor, they sold their property directly across from our house, my house I should say, and when he sold that property, he subdivided it, and he's kept a part of it on the opposite side of my house, and they moved in a camper from probably the early 70s, and it's covered in graffiti, and then they brought in a very old black, like a SUV, like a Nissan Pathfinder, and they've abandoned them on this property. The windows, I think most of the windows are busted out on this
What
RV.
address is this?
I wouldn't know who I would need to address it to.
What address with this?
I don't,
Across from 125.
I'm at 125. They don't have the house on that corner, but they own it. And I don't know that it even has an address. If it does, I wouldn't know.
We have a complaint form that you can fill out and put your information on, like we discussed.
Can I do that today before I leave, or should I come back? You know?
I mean, yeah, I can get you one.
That's just my two
This
concerns.
is something that we can look at without even having a complaint form, since we're talking
I
about
sat
it
on
now.
the street this morning when I turned around. I did not see the abandoned vehicle. Campers there and there's stuff you break it.
Yeah, I think the vehicle may be like, it's like a black SUV, like maybe a Toyota
Can we look
Pathfinder.
into that?
I mean, it's,
Will we be able to look into that? Thank you.
okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to address the board?
I don't know.
Why don't you tell us your name and
Kim
address?
Marlar, I am standing. Kim Marlar, 655 South Main. I don't know, this has already been voted on, but I just want to give my opinion on it. When we are talking about a building inspector assistant, I have been in the interview process and hiring for many, many, many years with my job. The way we do where I work, when we hire for part-time, we let them know it's part-time. When we hire for full-time, we let them know it's full-time. Probably 90% of the time, people go in and agree to part-time, the hours we set them, whether it's 30 hours, whether it's 28 hours, whatever we have open at the time. I would say 90% of the time, within 2 months, they are asking about every other month, when am I going to get full-time? Well, you was hired for part-time, but I want full-time, but you was hired for part-time. So I think that is, if you're going to say it might be eventually full-time, people are going to go in wanting part-time or wanting full-time even though they're answering to part-time. And I know it's already voted on, but I just want to give my opinion on that. Another thing, the temporary admin that is part-time temporary or full-time temporary, part-time temporary.
Part-time temporary.
If we're so in need of employees, why don't we just keep her as part-time after Courtney comes back, or instead of temporary? I mean, how many people are going to want to work for 17 weeks maybe, or 20 weeks? That's a thought. If we're always strapped for help, maybe we could keep her on as part-time. That's just a suggestion. Okay, that's another thing that was all voted on. But the main issue, and I'm probably going to get emotional, so I want you guys to know this. The firing of Kim Miller, to me, broke my heart. I have so much empathy for her. I have had to take 16 weeks off in my life to take care of my husband that passed away. That was years ago, but still, I did it. If my company would have fired me because I was taking care of the most important person to me at that time, people would have went in an uproar. I understand she's been gone for 12 weeks, but where is our empathy in this town? Where is our empathy as a board? It would have been terrible if my company would have let me go when I was trying to save my husband's life, when I was trying to take him to chemo and radiation and trying to get him to live. It would have been terrible. Where is our empathy for people? And I know it's already a done deal, but I just had to get that off my chest. When I found that out, I'm thinking, these people, I pray to God you will never have to live through your mother passing away like that, or your spouse, like I had to do. I pray that you guys would have empathy, that somebody would show you empathy when you make a decision like that. And I just have to say that and get that off my chest. That has bugged me since I found out.
Ms. Muller, I agree, it was heartless.
Yes, it was very obvious.
Charlene Sailing, 902Q Avenue. First thing I'd like to say is I have a real passion for the building department, and in my position right now, I hear a lot of things, and one of the things that I hear is inconsistency in the reports that come out of the building department. And I understand what's happened, but I also understand that when you have people who are filling in, you're not always going to get the same message. You're not always going to talk to the same person. And I would like to see full-time in both of those positions. So there's a lot to learn as an assistant even. Sitting on the planning and zoning, I was overwhelmed. So if you're going to have somebody part-time, they're going to be trying to learn and execute their job at the same time. That's not fair to them. I know that it's going to cost more money, but you're only going to get what you put into it, and I think we deserve it. I think we need to find the money someplace. The other thing that I like to say, and I'm kind of like Kim, I might get emotional. I think that when this board voted the way they did to dismiss Kim, you set a precedent. So I think you need to ask yourself, going down the road when this comes up again, are you willing to make that very same decision for somebody else that you made for Kim?
My name is Dana, and I work here at the City of St. Clair. I wanted to address a couple of things. First thing that I want to address is the fact that Randy, our new parks guy, don't know how many of you guys have met him or got to speak with him. He's an outstanding worker and an outstanding individual. He recently was able to complete our disc golf park with the help of the Evergreen Disc Golf people that came out. Thank you to Public Works for some of the people that they sent out to help as well. But they did finish all that concrete. I did see some great things about it on Facebook and that. And I just want to make sure that you guys know what a great job he's doing. And if you see him out, please let him know that we appreciate him and the hard work that he's doing. The other thing is pertaining to the building department. I understand like where you guys are at with like hiring and that. I am appreciative of the fact that you guys are taking into consideration helping to get somebody in there, because it is very difficult to try and keep things going and cleaning up things and then trying to move forward. So there is a lot of things that Dan King has on the back burner that he does want to move forward. So when you guys are considering that, please consider that, because right now we are extremely strapped as it is for staff and the duties that we have.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Would anyone else like to approach the board?
I know that it's not required to give a response, but I would just like to say that when I made that decision with Kim, help me out. Miller. I wanted to look at both sides of that situation, and I even mentioned to Don that it was a really hard decision to make, because I can't imagine being in her situation, but I also knew that our staff here was literally drowning, and we were risking losing more employees, which would have just taxed the citizens and the city hall and staff even more than what they already were. So at the time, it wasn't anything against her. I have the deepest amount of empathy for her because of her situation, but I also felt like I had to look at everyone that was impacted by that decision and not just her situation alone.
Have you hired anybody yet? I mean,
Hang on, we need to approach the podium, thank you.
But I've sat through a meeting tonight where you, Alderman Sykes, were the one that said, let's wait until we bring a building inspector on board and then bring someone.
Because we're bringing in another
So when we look at
full-time-
that time frame, we don't know where Kim's time frame would have been. She may have been ready to come back at that time and had a head start on what we're going to bring someone in to train. I think you need to look at treating everyone fairly and equitably, and I don't think that was done. So whenever you're separating this circumstance from another circumstance down the road, just remember the decision that you made with this circumstance.
And we made it very clear that our decision to not extend her personal leave was not due to lack of performance or anything like that, but that she was welcome to reapply if her situation changed before that building department assistant role was filled. So it was she is given the opportunity to reapply.
And if I was let go because of what I went through personally, do you think I would go and reapply to somebody that has no heart for me? That does not care for me? No, I wouldn't. I went through that. I went through what she's going through. I'm saying, you still don't have anybody. It's been 2 weeks. She could have had 2 more weeks leave. Now she's dealing with her mother that is probably going to not end so well, and dealing with not having any money, not needing to go look for a job, needing to figure out how she's going to take care of her family. See, thank God that my company paid me 100% the whole time I was gone, and I didn't have to worry about that. I was worrying about a 9-year-old child that was losing his dad. I was worrying about my 2 older kids that was 22 and 25. I didn't have to worry about them. I was worrying about them because they're losing their dad. I was worrying about my husband. And on top of it, my mom had Alzheimer's, was in the middle of her Alzheimer's. Thank God I didn't have to worry about how I was going to have health insurance, how I was paying my bills, how I was doing everything else because I had that load on me. I just would not come back to a company that let me go because of that.
Emotional subjects tonight. Does anyone else have anything they would like to add?
I just want to add that situation has several aspects to it, and not everyone in this room was privy to all of the information. And I personally do not feel that you can say that you can make that same decision without knowing all of the facts.
I can. Yes, I can.
Well, we can agree to disagree.
Well, I lived it. I walked through it.
You're not the only one that's been through hard times, Kim.
I know I'm not.
Okay, just making sure you realize that.
Our next scheduled meeting is Monday, April 4th, 2022 at 7 o'clock. Before I take a motion, I do want to thank our staff that is understaffed right now and stepping up, including our police department who's been dealing with a lot lately, so thank you to everyone. If there's nothing further, we're going to need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. This meeting is adjourned. Everyone have a good evening.